Hello and welcome to the Ssc Cgl mock test, and we are doing a topic based test over here. And for our next topic is going to be idioms and phrases. Well, idioms are those set of words. It's a collection of words whose meaning is not exactly what the words mean. So every language, different languages have different idioms, different sayings, and it doesn't translate very well if you translate it to any other language. So let's get down to it, to idioms, and we start our test. So coming down to our first idiom, we have smooth ruffled feathers. That's the sentence which has been given, and the options that are given are comb untidy hair, make people feel less offended, tassel someone's hair, or stroke a pet animal. And the correct option is option B, which says make people feel less offended. This is what is meant by smooth ruffled feathers, to make people feel less offended. So let's click on option B and say next. Coming to number 2, it is assume air, and the options that are given are take tight, remain calm, act innocent, or pretend superiority. And the correct option is option D, which says pretend superiority. To pretend to be superior is said to assume airs. So we click option D. Say next. Coming to number 3, it says play truant, and the options given are play a tyrant, stay away from duty, be responsible, or be alert. And the correct option is option B, which says stay away from duty. To stay away from duty or to stay away from school is said to play truant. So we click option B. Say next. So coming to number 4, it says beggar's description, and the options cannot be described, something described by a beggar, a poor account of something, or a description of a beggar. And the correct option is option A, which says cannot be described. So something which is very hard to describe is said to be beggar's description. So we click option A. Say next. Question number 5, it says drag one's feet. So the options that are given are make something more complicated, expedite, be reluctant to act, or stop working. And the correct option is option C, which says be reluctant to act. When something stops you from acting, when you're reluctant to act, it is said to drag one's feet. So we click option C and say next. So on to question number 6. The idiom that is given is hope against hope, and the options read think wishfully from time to time, hope with good reason, nurture an impossible hope, or pretend to hope. And the correct option is nurture an impossible hope. When you're hoping, even though it is the thing you're hoping for is very impossible, it is said to be hope against hope. So we click option C and say next. Coming on to question number 7, it says all moonshine, and the options are glowing, far from reality, celestial, or about the moon. And the correct option is option B, which says far from reality. Something which is very far-fetched, very unreal is said to be all moonshine. So we click on option B and say next. So on to question number 8, it says at a snail's pace, and the options quietly, quickly, continuously or slowly, and it is of course option D, which says slowly. Doing something very slowly is said to be done at a snail's pace, because snails move very slow. So click on option D, say next. Coming on to question number 9, the idiom that's given is call on, and the options are telephone, seek help, pay a visit, or order, and the correct option is option C over here, which says pay a visit. To visit someone is said to call on someone. So we click option C. Say next again. So coming to question number 10, the idiom is to bury the hatchet, and the options given are to make peace, to dig the ground, to negotiate, to make war. So the correct option is option A, which says to make peace. To make peace with someone, stop fighting and make peace with someone, is said to bury the hatchet. So we click option A. Say next. On to number 11. The phrase is alive and kicking, and the options read playing football, dying, becoming old, or in good health, and it is option D, which is the right option, which says in good health. In good health is said to be alive and kicking. When I say I'm alive and kicking, it means I'm in very good health. So option D it is. And next, so coming to question number 12, the phrase is selling like hotcakes, and the options given are to have a good season, to become as planned, to have a very slow sale, to have a very good sale. And the correct option is option D, which says to have a very good sale. To have a very good sale is said to be selling like hotcakes. So we click option D and say next. Moving on to question number 13, the idiom is scot-free, and the options given are unlimited, unpunished, to freedom, or unrepentant. And the correct option is option B, which says unpunished. To go away scot-free is to go away unpunished, and someone doesn't find out about what you've done, any wrong you've done. To go unpunished, that is scot-free. So we click option B, say the next. On to number 14, and the next idiom is drive home, and the options given are find one's route, emphasize, refer, or draw, and the correct option is option B, which says emphasize. To emphasize a particular point is to say to drive home a point. We say that. So it's going to be option B. We click and say the next. On to number 15. The idiom is to end in smoke, and the options given are end without any practical result, end with positive result, die in a burning house, or risk everything in a single venture. And the correct option is option A, which says end without any practical result is to end in smoke. So click option A, say next. So on to number 16, it says a left-handed compliment, and the options given are a subtle rebuke, wholesome praise, an ambiguous compliment, or a mild compliment. And the correct option is option C, which says an ambiguous compliment. Ambiguous is when you have two different meanings. So if it's a compliment, there is something to the side of that which can also mean something else. It's ambiguous, not really a compliment. So click on option C and say next. On to number 17, the phrase is bad blood, and the options given are shooting, anemia, enmity, and mourning. And the correct option is option C, which says enmity. To have very, very bad relations with someone, fighting with someone, being enemy with someone is said to have bad blood between you. So it's option C. And next, on to number 18, the phrase is to beat around the bush, to beat about the bush, and the options given are to try to win favors, to talk well, to talk about relevant things, and I'm going to scroll down, to talk about irrelevant things. So the correct option is option D, which says to talk about irrelevant things. To keep on talking about things that don't really matter, are not relevant, is said to be talking, to beating around the bush. So it's going to be option D. We click and save and next. So on to question number 19. The phrase is maiden speech, and the options given are bachelor's speech, first speech, last speech, or extemporary speech. And the correct option is, in fact, option B, which says first speech. A speech which you give for the very first time is said to be the maiden speech. So we click option B. Say next. So we come to number 20, and it is a cuckoo in the nest, and the phrase is cuckoo in the nest, and the options given are one who likes to stay at home, a view from a high place, an unwelcome intruder, or one who is chosen as the leader of the group. And the correct option is option C, which says an unwelcome intruder. Now the cuckoo is a bird which lays its eggs in other birds' nests, and when the eggs hatch and the small birds come out, the fledglings, they push out the fledglings or the babies of the bird whose nest it was. So an unwelcome intruder is often called a cuckoo in the nest. So we click option C. Say next. Okay, coming on to question number 21. It's a house of cards, and the options given are an insecure scheme, gambling house, a plan with high stakes, or a place where cards are printed. And the correct option is option A, which says an insecure scheme. So anything whose foundations are not strong, whose foundations are not safe, said to be a house of cards, something which is insecure. So we click option A, say next. So coming on to number 22, the idiom is to smell a rat, and the options given are to see signs of plague epidemic, to get the bad smell of a dead rat, to suspect foul dealings, or to be in a bad mood. And the correct option is option C, which says to suspect foul dealings. To suspect when something is not going right, you sense something foul is going on, it's said to be to smell a rat. So we click option C, click next. To number 23, the idiom is old head on young shoulders, and the options given are to be intelligent when old, to be old and yet look young, to be wise beyond his years, and to be smarter with age. And the correct option is option C, which says to be wise beyond his years. So when you see a young man and he's very wise, we say it's an old head on young shoulders. So we click option C over here. Move on next. On to number 24. The idiom is a wild goose chase, and the options given are a fruitful search, a pointless search, to search for a wild goose, or a hunting expedition. And the correct option is option B, which says a pointless search. A wild goose chase is when you are looking for something which is really pointless. So searching for a pointless search is called a wild goose chase. We click option B, say next. So coming on to question number 25, the idiom is hard of hearing, and the options, read them out for you. The first one says to be disturbed, to be confused, to be deaf, or to be dumb. And the correct option is option C, which says to be deaf. To be deaf is said to be hard of hearing. So we click option C, say next. On to number 26, and the phrase is a dark horse, and the options are a wild animal, a black horse, an unknown entry, or a front runner. And the correct option is option C, which says an unknown entry. Something in a competition, someone or any team in a competition which is very unknown to the others is said to be a dark horse. So we click option C, go to the next question. This is number 27, and the idiom is throw cold water, and options given are encourage, discourage, attack, or drench. And the correct option is option B, discourage. To throw cold water is to discourage someone from something. We click option B, move on. Coming on to question number 28, the idiom is butt in, and the options given are record, impose, improvise, or interrupt. And the correct option is option D, which says interrupt. To interrupt someone is to say to butt in. So it is interrupt, option D. We click here, say next. On to number 29, and the phrase is couch potato, and the options given are an old man who has old-fashioned ideas, a person who prefers to watch television, a person who does not seem very friendly, or someone who stays calm and does not show their emotions. And the correct meaning is option B, which says a person who prefers to watch television. So a person who sits at home and watches television all day is said to be a couch potato. So we click option B, say next. On to number 30, and the idiom is carry the ball. So the options once again: decorate the ball, be in charge, take the decision, be the hostess. And the correct option is option B, which says be in charge. To be in charge of something is said to carry the ball. So we click option B here, save and next. So we come to question number 31. The idiom is turned down, and options given are subject, object, reject, or deject. And the correct option is option C, which says reject. Turn down means to reject. He turned down an offer. That means he rejected an offer. So we click option C, save and next. On to number 32, and the idiom is cheek by jowl, and the options given are very close together, arguing, teasing one another, or avoiding one another. And the correct option is option A, which says very close together. When someone or something are very close together, we say they are cheek by jowl. So we click option A, say next. On to number 33, the phrase is beyond the pale, and the options given are unreasonable, beyond redemption, full of rhetoric, or distasteful. And the correct option is option D, which says distasteful. There is a spelling mistake over here, we're sorry about that, and it's normally said in the way of behavior. If someone behaves in a very bad way, we say their behavior is beyond the pale, it is distasteful. So we click option D and say next. Moving on to number 34, the idiom is blow one's own trumpet, and the options given are play some music, surprise oneself, praise oneself, or condone oneself. And the correct option is option C, which says praise oneself. So when someone is talking about himself in a good way, only singing praises about themselves, it is said to blow one's own trumpet. So we click on option C, say next. To number 35, and the idiom is stick to his guns, and the options given are stand by his truth, maintain his own opinions, maintain his weapons, or maintain his anger. And the correct option is option B, which says maintain his own opinions. When you don't change your opinions because of what might have happened in between, it is said to stick to one's gun, stick to his gun, maintaining his own opinions. Click option B, say next. So on to number 36, and the phrase is at sea, and the options given: journey, at a loss, surprise, and sad. And the correct option is option B, at a loss. To be at sea is to be at a loss, to not know what to do, to be all at sea. So click option B and go on to the next question. Moving on to question number 37, the phrase is weal and woe, and the options given are friends and enemies, be in danger, adversity, good times and bad times. And the correct option is option D, which says good times and bad times. Good times and bad times said to be weal and woe. They were together in weal and woe. That means they were together in good times as well as bad times. We click option D and say next. So number 38, the idiom is call in question, and the options given are summon as a witness, doubtful, prove the theory, or challenge. And the correct option is option D, challenge. When I say call in question something, which means to challenge something, to prove it's right. So you click option D and say next. To question number 39, and the phrase is make both ends meet, and the options given: live within means, achieve a solution, live among people, or end of the road. And the correct meaning is option A, live within means. So to live with the amount of wealth or money you have and not go beyond that is to make both ends meet. And we click option A. Say next. So moving on to question number 40, the idiom is put up the shutters, and the options given are went out of business, experienced a downside, sold off assets, or changed ownership. And the correct option is option A, which says went out of business. If something closes down, maybe permanently, they are said to put up the shutters, like a shop or a restaurant. So we click option A and say next. Moving on to number 41, the phrase is a drop in the bucket, and the options given: as much as possible, nothing at all, a handsome argument, or a very insignificant amount. And the proper option is option D, which says a very insignificant amount. A drop in the bucket is something which is very, very less, doesn't make a difference. So we click option D, say next. On to number 42, and the phrase is draw a blank, and the options given are paint something, find no favor, oblige someone, or teach someone. And proper option is option B, which says find no favor. Draw a blank means you don't have any support for what you are planning to do or say. So find no favor is the correct option, option B. So you click and say next again. So coming to question number 43, the idiom is as daft as a brush, and options given are extremely silly, artistically inclined, completely clean, or utterly selfish. And the correct option is option C, which says completely clean. Something which is completely clean is said to be as daft as a brush. Click option C. Go to the next question. Number 44, and the phrase is in a nutshell. Let's look at the options. Options are in translation, a decorative language, a well-packed parcel, or briefly and concisely. And the correct option is the last option, option D, briefly and concisely. So if there is a long story and we need to say it in a very short way, we can say in a nutshell, saying this, saying something very briefly. We click option D and say next. On to number 45, and the idiom is strain every nerve, and the options given: try all tricks, work very hard, beg before others, or spend a large amount. And the correct option is option B, which says work very hard. To strain every nerve is to work very, very hard. So we click option B, say next. On to number 46, and the phrase is evening of life, and the options given: old age, a party, holiday, or none of these. And the answer is option A. It says old age. To be in the evening of life is to be old. So we click option A, say next. On to number 47, and the phrase is button her lip, and the options given are: tell us more, stop talking, invite us to, or enjoy yourself. So the correct option is option B, which says stop talking. To button one's lip is to stop talking. So we click option B. Say next. On to number 48, and the idiom is invent cock and bull stories, and the options given are delightful fables, eco-friendly accounts, absurd and unlikely stories, or creditable tales. And the correct option is option C, which says absurd and unlikely stories. Invent cock and bull stories. Speak stories which are not likely to happen. So option C it is. Click and say next. So on to question number 49, and the phrase is wild goose chase, and this was already in one of the questions. However, the options are different over here, and the options are an admirable enterprise, an honest effort, a foolish, unprofitable adventure, or a powerful effort. And the correct option is option C, which says a foolish, unprofitable adventure. Something which will not bring about any profit, it's not of any use, it's very foolish. Anything you are trying to do is said to be a wild goose chase. So we click option C, save and next. On to number 50, and the idiom is smell a rat, and options given are detect bad smell, suspect a trick or deceit, misunderstand, or see hidden meaning. And the correct option is option B, which says suspect a trick or deceit. When you are suspecting any foul play, any deception from any other parties, it's said to smell a rat. So we click option B. See next. On to number 51, and the phrase is a live wire, and options given: industrious and brilliant, lively and active, sincere and intelligent, and sincere and efficient. So the correct option is option B, lively and active. To be a live wire is to be lively and active. So click option B here. Say next. So coming on to question number 52, and the phrase is capital punishment. What do you mean by capital punishment? Is it death sentence? Is it life imprisonment? Is it to be jailed, or is it to be imprisoned for a long period? And the correct answer is option A, death sentence. When anyone is sentenced to death, it's said to be capital punishment. Click option A, say the next. On to number 53, and the idiom is leaps and bounds. And the options: slowly, rapidly, jumping, or stationary. And the correct option is option B, rapidly. When something happens very fast, it's said to be happening in leaps and bounds. Something very rapid. So we click option B and say next. On to number 54, and the idiom is donkey's ears, and the options given are a decade, a long time, a century, or since school days. The correct option, option B, a long time. To be doing something for donkey's years is said to be doing it for a very long time, donkey's years. So we click option B, say next. So moving on to question number 55, the idiom is leave no stone unturned, and the options given are try every possible way, behave smartly, constructing, or wasting no time. And the correct option is option A, which says try every possible way. To leave no stone unturned is when you've tried all the ways that are possible and you leave nothing to chance. So that's option A. We click, say next. On to number 56, and the phrase is a man of letters, and the options given: letter writer, proofreader, postman, scholar. And the correct option is option D, which says scholar. A man of letters is a very educated man, someone who has a lot of knowledge and education. So we have over here option D. We say save it next. On to number 57, and the phrase is under a cloud, and the options given: shocked, sad, sick, or confused. The correct option D, which says confused. So every time we say that decision is now under a cloud, it means it is confused. It's not very certain. So click on option D, say next. Number 58, and the idiom is bear in mind, and the options given are respect, observe, remember, or pretend to listen. The correct option is option C, remember. When I say please bear in mind, it means to remember something. Option C we click, say the next. On to number 59, and the phrase is held up, and the options are kidnapped, delayed, caught, and nabbed. The correct option B, delayed. When I say they were held up or play has been held up, it means it's been delayed. You click option B and say next. On to number 60, and the idiom is to play fast and loose, and let's look at the options. To be narrow-minded, to play a good game, to act in an unreliable way, or to defeat a person. And the correct option is option C, which says to act in an unreliable way. So there we go. We click on option C, say the next. So we are ready to submit our answers. Let's submit them. There we have. So thank you so much.